Hey friends, welcome to the Bible Tract Echoes radio broadcast. I'm Michael McCurry, your host. I'd like to just jump right in to a thought that's been kind of bumping around in my head for just a little while. You know, God's people are the best. God's people are the best. A couple of weeks ago, we had an impromptu project kind of fall into our laps. I was made aware of a need for gospel tracts in Mexico City, Mexico. I got on the phone with one of our missionary partners down south of the border and spoke to him and found out the particulars, and within 24 hours of hearing about the need, we had a plan in place. We were going to send at least 24,000 gospel tracts to this spiritually impoverished nation. Well, that's all well and good, but realize that we don't charge for our gospel tracts. These gospel tracts that we put around the world free of charge, we've done so for over 80 years into 170 plus different countries and dozens of languages. We haven't charged for them, and we don't plan on starting anytime soon, and we most certainly weren't going to start with a missionary friend of ours in Mexico. Well, something needed to be done. We sent out an email blast to some of our partners, people that have partnered with us in the past. And in a blink of an eye, we had about $1,100 raised for this project. We are so blessed. They completely wiped the slate clean on this kind of last-minute, time-sensitive thing. I'm so excited for the fact that I get to partner with people just like you. I just want to brag on God's people for just a moment. You folks, you that are listening right now, you folks are amazing, phenomenal, excellent. Your spirit, your attitude when you correspond with me by text, or when we have the, I'm sorry to say, rare chance to meet in person, you folks are amazing. I want to thank God for you. Today on the broadcast, we kind of close out a month of prayer. All through October, we've been focused very, very particularly on prayer, and literally hundreds of people just like you have banded together with us in prayer. I'll make one final, for now, plea that if you'd like to join with us in prayer, we will be putting a special emphasis on prayer again very soon. If you'd like to do so, you can contact me by texting me today at this phone number. You ready? Grab a paper and a pen, maybe open up your notes app on your phone, or even just start typing a message into your messenger, your message app, your text app right now. You ready? Here's that number: 309-316-7240. Again, that's 309-316-7240. And if you would, especially if you are interested in this topic of prayer, text the word prayer, Prayer, the word prayer, to 309-316-7240. Now, let's jump in. Today, I'm going to introduce you to a man named Randy Pausch. Randolph Frederick Pausch. Who was that man, and what does he have to do with us today? Well, grab your Bibles and turn to the book of 1 Kings chapter 2. 1 Kings chapter 2 is where we will find our text today. I'd like you, as we draw into our Bible, to focus your mind, to, if you can, minimize the distractions that are going on around you, because I believe we are going to we are going to kind of dive into a topic that someday, if the Lord tarries his coming, will apply to each and every one of us. What is that topic? Think about this, if you would. What if you knew that the next conversation that you would have would be your very last? What if you were aware that you would have just one final chance to say your goodbyes, to speak to those you love, to gather near all that you hold dear, and to have one last talk with them? What would that look like for you? There's likely, at least I've heard from many of them, many pastors under the sound of my voice right now, listening in, maybe in the early morning hours, in the afternoon or evening, depending on when this broadcast plays in your neck of the woods. But Pastor, what if today were your very last opportunity to prepare a sermon? What if you knew this coming Sunday, for most of you, depending on when you're listening, probably 5 or 6 days away, what if, Pastor, this upcoming Sunday morning were your last? Sunday school teachers, what if you knew you only had one Sunday school class meeting left? How would that change your outlook? How would that change your intensity? Would anything about what you do be different? Well, Mr. Randy Pausch was faced with a circumstance very similar to what I've just laid bare for you. You see, in 2006, he found out that he had a very serious case of pancreatic cancer. Approximately a year later, in August of 2007, he was given a terminal diagnosis. Randy Pausch was a professor of computer sciences in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, was well loved by his students. And he was given, because of his popularity, because of his well-spokenness, because of his ability to educate, he was offered an opportunity to speak at what was called the last lecture. Now, he was not given this opportunity because he was on death's door. No, this last lecture was a lecture series that different professors were offered the position and the opportunity to speak and give one lecture as if it were their last. It didn't have to be on their area of emphasis, their area of education, but from the heart, what would they say? And the timing worked out so that it was just a month or two after his terminal diagnosis that the date was set for him to speak and to give the last lecture. Now, that lecture has turned into a viral video. You can search it on YouTube if you'd like. It's really amazing, and I would recommend it at some point to listen to Randy Pausch. With millions of hits on the internet, with 5 million plus copies sold. I think his book, The Last Lecture, that he co-authored and that was published soon after his death, that book has 5 million sales and was on the New York Times bestseller list for like 112 weeks or something like that. It touched a chord with people. I wonder if this thought has touched a chord with you. Today, on this broadcast of Bible Tract Echoes, we're going to look at David's last lecture. We're in 1 Kings chapter 2. We're really just giving an introduction today, as you may be able to tell, and we're going to continue to mine out what God has for us from this particular passage, but also I'd ask you to keep this thought close to your heart. Keep it at the forefront of your imagination for the next 24 hours until we come back together again. But what if this day or the next were your last? What would you say? We're in 1 Kings chapter 2. Let's look, if you would, 1 Kings chapter 2, and look at verse number 1. Now, the days of David drew nigh, that he should die. And he charged Solomon his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong, therefore, and show thyself a man. 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 3. And keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whithersoever thou turnest thyself. And we'll conclude today's broadcast with verse 4, that the Lord may continue his word which he spake concerning me, saying, If thy children take heed to their way, to walk before me in truth, with all their heart and with all their soul, there shall not fail thee, said he, a man on the throne of Israel. Now we are made aware, here at the very beginning of 1 Kings chapter 2, that this was David's last lecture. He drew nigh to the time that he would take his last breath. Now, this is not the point of the broadcast where I reveal that I have some terminal illness, and that's why I'm speaking on what I'm speaking about today. But I do ask that question again. What if your next conversation were truly your last? What if you knew it? How would that change your outlook? Now, let me speak to the younger among my audience, those that cannot comprehend the idea or the perception of death. It seems so far off. It seems so foreign. What if you knew that for that one, that elderly man or woman, that you knew it was their last days on earth, and they were going to have one last conversation with you? How would that change how you received that discourse? Would you bend your ear to their trembling lips just a little bit closer to soak up every last bit of wisdom? I certainly hope so. My friend, we are this week going to look at David's last lecture. I'd encourage you to come along for the ride. Tomorrow on the broadcast, I'm going to share with you and reveal our founder's last lecture, Dr. Paul Levine, the founder of Bible Tracts Incorporated. He also found out that he had terminal illness about a year before he passed. And he did something. He made a choice. He communicated something that still rings true and sticks with us today. I'm excited to share that with you tomorrow. My prayer today, as always, is that you have a wonderful day, a great day for His glory. Let me encourage you to join us on the rest of the week of this broadcast on Bible Tract Echoes. Maybe, just maybe, you should invite a friend to listen with you tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening. I repeat once again, God's people are the best. God bless. We'll talk to you soon.